First 100 days. Well, this week, President Trump marks 100 days as president. It's been 100 days of hell for American families, for our economy, and for our democracy. The start of Donald Trump's second term has been the worst start of any president in modern times. He now has the lowest approvals any president has seen through his first 100 days since they started polling 80 years ago. Tomorrow night, Senate Democrats will take to the floor to highlight the disaster of Donald Trump's first 100 days. We will expose his broken promises. We'll expose his lies. We'll expose the ways he is threatening democracy. So we will take to the floor and expose Donald Trump as a disastrous president in his first 100 days. We ask America to listen. On the day he became president, Donald Trump promised a golden age for America. Today, that seems laughable. Instead of a golden age, what Americans have gotten is one of the most chaotic, corrupt, and harmful starts to a presidency in modern history. Before our very eyes, the man who occupies the Oval Office is destroying the foundations of our democracy. Federal law enforcement are arresting people with little due process, even going as far as arresting a judge in Wisconsin. At least 4 U.S. citizens, all of them children, 2 suffering from cancer, have been illegally deported. It's sickening, it's immoral. Arrest a judge to try and threaten and scare judges, which he's done before, saying he's about impeachment and other things. Freedom of expression, rule of law is under attack. Government has been weaponized against the free press, against academic and judicial independence, against anyone who might disagree with Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't want to be president of a democratic republic. He has said he wants to be a king or some kind of dictator. He said, "Let me be a dictator for one day," but his actions show he wants to be one for much longer. Meanwhile, billionaires like Elon Musk have been handed the keys to the federal government with little accountability. Donald Trump claimed he's a better president than George Washington, but he takes inspiration more from the likes of Viktor Orban or worse. So 100 days into Donald Trump's second term, what exactly do Americans have to feel good about? Is it that Donald Trump's trade war has pushed our country to the brink of recession? Is it that his tariffs will cost families an average of $4,700 annually? Is it that CEOs and business owners are warning about rising costs, empty shelves, and an economic downturn? Maybe it's that the Dow Jones is on track for its worst April since 1932. The truth is, Donald Trump's presidency is no golden age. It's a disaster. The worst start to a new administration in modern times. Americans are already fed up. Americans are already beginning to see that Donald Trump has betrayed them, that Donald Trump's campaign promises before he won election and his actions as president are almost in direct contradiction on issue after issue after issue. They are seeing that Donald Trump is not on their side. He's not on the side of working families. He's on the side of the billionaires. And we're all suffering for it. So for the last 2 weeks, what happened during recess corroborated all of this. For the last 2 weeks, my Democratic colleagues and I have seen Americans' frustration firsthand. During the Easter recess, I traveled from one end of my state to the other. I visited 6 of 7 congressional districts represented by Republicans in Congress in New York. And I spoke with small business owners, seniors, healthcare workers, veterans, local electeds, Republicans, Democrats, independents, people from all walks of life. People are anxious about tariffs driving up their costs, about inflation eroding their paychecks, and fearful for the future of Social Security. Last week, I met with the owner of a woman's clothing shop in Suffolk County, a well-known woman in Suffolk County, head of a very successful business, Tandy's Clothes, a longtime fan of the president. She said she proudly voted for him, right when I was standing there. But now she said her small business wouldn't be able to absorb the shock of a prolonged trade war, that her costs were already up 30%. This is a Donald Trump voter who's angry at these tariffs. No one I met over the last 2 weeks believed we were entering the golden age Donald Trump promised. Instead, I heard worry, I heard frustration from Republicans, I heard a lot of buyer's remorse. And Republican members from those districts I visited are nervous, worried, scared as could be. They know their voters don't agree with Trump, but they're too scared to buck them. In the upcoming reconciliation, we'll see what they do. Will they side with Trump against what Americans need and want? Or will they have a little courage? We are very, very worried about the future of this country with so much at stake. So, let's talk about what's going to happen in the Senate in this period, in this work period. Now we're going to convene at the start of the work period, this pivotal work period. And this week, Republicans are expected to begin marking up the text of their reconciliation bill. With so many problems facing our country, with the threat of a recession on the horizon, with tariffs driving costs up, and Elon Musk taking a meat cleaver to Social Security, to veterans care, and to cancer research, what are Republicans in Congress spending their time on? They want to cut taxes for billionaires and make working people pay for it. They want to add over $52 trillion to the national debt. I think of my grandson when I think of that. They want to make the biggest cuts to Medicaid ever. This is the Republican agenda. Billionaires win, American families lose. Republicans have gotten by so far with a bunch of empty and deceptive promises that none of the outrageous cuts they propose will come back to harm ordinary Americans. But their rhetorical runway is quickly going to run out. Soon they will have to show everyone the real details of their legislation, and it's not going to be pretty. Even if Republicans pass a fraction of the cuts they're proposing to Medicaid, it would devastate communities, urban, suburban, and particularly rural. The cost of health care would go up for those least to afford it. Healthcare workers would lose their jobs. Millions could lose coverage. And for what? So billionaires can pay less in taxes. It is a thoroughly revolting agenda. Democrats will vehemently oppose this bill and all the harmful elements of the Republican agenda at every opportunity. Tomorrow, as I said a moment ago, Senate Democrats will take to the floor to highlight the disaster of Donald Trump's first 100 days. On Wednesday, we'll take to the Senate steps and join in one voice with our House counterparts to decry the ways this president has already, only 100 days in, failed our country. In the coming weeks, we'll continue to oppose deeply unqualified nominees who have no business serving in government. We've seen that already, for instance, with the antics of Mr. Hegseth. We'll also fight Donald Trump's disastrous trade war. Soon the Senate will vote on bipartisan legislation I co-sponsored with Senators Wyden, Kaine, and Paul that nullifies Donald Trump's trade war. To nobody's surprise, the president's already threatened to veto this bill. Senate Republicans, who know how bad tariffs are for their states, should join us to nullify Donald Trump's trade war and ignore his veto threat. And if necessary, we should override the president's veto. These tariffs are so bad and already pushing America into recession. Recession's an economic word for shrinking growth. But what does it mean to American families? More likely to lose a job, harder to find a new job, more likely to have prices go up and not be able to afford those price increases. Finally, Senate Democrats will do what Senate Republicans refuse to do: conduct oversight on this administration. We'll do it on our own. That means pushing for investigations into the leadership failures at the Pentagon. What Hegseth did there was horrible. It means pushing back against the tax on Social Security. It means resisting the defunding of public resources like PBS. It means exposing the chilling arrests of Americans without due process. Day after day after day, we will hammer home the Republican agenda, and Americans will see the difference between Democratic unity and Republican disarray. It's no wonder Republicans are in such disarray. House Republicans fighting with one another, Senate Republicans fighting with one another, and Senate and House Republican leaderships not even on the same page. That's incredible. Why? Because their programs are so unpopular with the American people. Democrats are united in our mission to lower costs for families, protect health care, defend American democracy. Meanwhile, Republicans are at loggerheads with each other. As I said, House Republicans are fighting among themselves. Senate Republicans are fighting among themselves. Leadership in both chambers are at odds. And why do Republicans face this situation where they are so at odds with one another? A simple answer again. Because their agenda is so unpopular with the American people, and neither House and no Republican senator wants to be left holding this hot potato. The backlash Republicans are getting from the public, whether it's town halls, in the streets, or through dismal polling data, should serve as a warning to our colleagues on the other side. If they proceed with their agenda, the political outcry will be enormous, just enormous. And so as long as Donald Trump pushes America down the dangerous road we're already on, he'll face resistance from Democrats, from the courts, and most importantly, from the American people themselves.